Yo, guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome. Have a couple of announcements. Sorry about that. Have a couple of announcements that I'm gonna make here. Have a couple of announcements that I'm gonna make on the podcast and just kind of just speaking with you guys. It's been a little while, since I've kind of made content and just coronavirus and a lot of stuff going on right now, not only in my life, but just there just isn't a lot of sports content that is out right now. And some people can manage, some people can really manage to continue. Some people can manage, and I give people in the media and I give people on YouTube that continue to produce content. I give them a lot of respect because this is not only the toughest summer. Not only are summers difficult, but this summer in particular is very difficult. There aren't a lot of sports. There aren't a lot of distractions out there. In the sports world, there isn't a lot of sports news at all, and it's completely dormant. And now it's June. You hope that the NFL, you hope that the training camp is provided, and you hope that you just hope that you see full stadiums in the fall for football. But basically, I'm going to be limiting my content to probably about once a week until we really get into maybe late August. Preseason also, guys, I mean, last year, preseason is kind of deemed meaningless. I mean, Drew Lock really struggled in preseason. He did very well in the regular season. Kyler Murray took like 6 weeks to adjust. There's players that do phenomenal in the preseason, and then you never hear from them again, like a Chad Kelly. So, or like a wide receiver. It's very rare to see the Victor Cruzes of the world do well. So, and also those film reviews, they are not out on the NFL game. You don't get the coach's film necessarily on those film. So maybe we'll watch a throw from Joe Burrow here or there, but preseason in totality, I mean, we're going to be hearing about who's going to be healthy for the regular season, but it doesn't really determine that much about actual teams. So we're still probably going to be keeping it on the channel to about maybe once or two videos a week. Then when the regular season starts out, we will do film reviews on Josh Allen, Garoppolo, and Drew Lock. And then we'll talk about the Giants. We'll talk NFC East. We will have content on the page. I'm not sure how often it's going to happen. But yeah, it's been very difficult just to come up with topics to talk about. Some are going to be repetitive. And in YouTube, you do have the freedom to make whatever videos you can. And just a lot of stuff right now going on and that I have to take care of, with family and personal things. So just the uploading is going to be sporadic, but that's what YouTube is about. I'm not getting paid. I'm only getting paid per the views. It's not like there's an employer. It's not like there's a whole lot of other people around. And yeah, you enter in the different stages of your YouTube career, your YouTube life. And there's going to be moments where sometimes it's fun making a video just about every day. Sometimes it's not. What I'm going to end up doing pretty much on YouTube is I'm going to kind of cater it a lot towards the content that I would like to make. And even if it doesn't get a lot of views, it doesn't. And that's kind of just being honest about the state that we're in right now and the frustration that there is no basketball. There is really no football. I have some really good people I want to get on the channel. I guess we can maybe do an interview. But it's really just all previews. And when football gets going, I'm pretty much like my channel to be a football channel that pretty much lasts, 4 months. So that's just being as transparent as I possibly could be. Let's talk right now about the Super Bowl and Jimmy Garoppolo in the Super Bowl. So I think for Jimmy Garoppolo, kind of the segue, I think for Jimmy Garoppolo to really gain for Jimmy Garoppolo to really be respected by the media and by people, he has no place to go but to win a Super Bowl championship. And it's awful that it's come to that. But Garoppolo, hear me out here, okay? Garoppolo has the running game. He has a very good coach in Kyle Shanahan, an elite-level coach. He has John Lynch as the general manager. So Garoppolo, he has a lot. He does have things working for him. The defense last year was sensational. So the media and everybody is coming up with the theory that the team kind of, Garoppolo was not the guy pulling the team. I think it was a perfect balance because in the Saints game, even against the Rams at home, against the Steelers, Garoppolo had some turnovers, but Garoppolo still made plays during the season. Garoppolo even got the game into overtime against Seattle at home when he didn't even play that well. Garoppolo is a guy that late in the game, Garoppolo knows how to make clutch throws, and he knows how to win, and he knows how to make big. Garoppolo is a high completion percentage guy. He's very, very accurate, and he has talent. And when Emmanuel Sanders got around Garoppolo, Emmanuel Sanders really improved as well from a Joe Flacco. So for a lot of people want to just say that he's a game manager. Couldn't Joe Flacco game manage his way to then winning? I know the Vikings and Packers were weak. The Vikings came off of that game against the Saints where they let everything out on the field. And they went to San Francisco, and they were expired batteries. Their performance was completely uninspiring and really a shitty performance by Minnesota. But again, for Minnesota to even beat the Saints with how crappy their defense had become, with, I guess you could say, the distraction of Diggs, but Kirk Cousins had a good season, and still Minnesota's defense is just not, it's just so average that team has no identity. And if they're ever going to win, they're going to have to reload on defense, which is actually what Minnesota did, and they had a tremendous draft. But then the 49ers just hammered Green Bay, and everybody criticized the 49ers for not throwing enough. It's kind of like a constant theme in media and kind of in society, I guess you could say, is that everybody loves to nitpick things that are super successful, and the 49ers are super successful. So they're trying to find little pinpricks that they can kind of use against the 49ers and against Jimmy Garoppolo. And for Jimmy G, the best news, I guess, is to just stay off of social media and to not try to listen to, the guys at ESPN that will just say you're not doing enough. Because then if Kyle Shanahan says that Garoppolo's going to be airing it out more, then you run the risk of forcing things. And as a quarterback, you shouldn't force things. Your goal is to win. And yes, some situations are going to be better than others, but your main goal is to win, okay? And I look at Garoppolo, and he can win. And does he have the biggest arm? No. But I think Garoppolo is a guy that every single year, even if the defense isn't good, I think that Garoppolo can always succeed in this league. And I think he'll always find ways to win because he's deadly accurate with the ball, because he's timely and clutch. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, when he went to San Francisco, that was a shitty team the first year. That team had no momentum at all. And Garoppolo came into that locker room, and Garoppolo won his last 5 starts. He even beat a team and a defense that ended up going to the AFC Championship in Jacksonville that year. He put 315 yards on Jacksonville. Garoppolo, he managed to Jimmy Garoppolo, he managed to also beat the Tennessee Titans, another playoff team that year. That another playoff team that actually won a playoff game that season. So Garoppolo he did it ever since he's been in San Francisco, ever since he's been in New England. And yes, people could say it's Bill Belichick. People can also say that it's Kyle Shanahan, that he has a great running game. But, I mean, if any human being is in the position that San Francisco was in, you're not there to put up style points. This isn't the Big 12. This isn't the BCS where you have to, throw the ball and beat teams by 50 points. So Garoppolo was doing his job, and he somehow gets crucified for being an NFC champion and doing his job. And that's what's so frustrating. That's why the guy can't win. And it is crucial for Garoppolo, for his legacy, to even if he goes to a Super Bowl and chokes again, he'll just be known as a Jared Goff or at best a Jim Kelly. He has to win a Super Bowl to validate himself. Once you win a Super Bowl championship, you then become unlocked as a player. Once you become a starting quarterback who wins a Super Bowl championship, and unless you're a Doug Hostetler or a Nick Foles that is not a franchise quarterback, when you win a Super Bowl, it unlocks you, and I think it unlocks you for about 8 years. And then if you become Joe Flacco and you completely just fail in the 8 years after, for the most part, then maybe you get slander. But you think of all the other guys. You think of Aaron Rodgers' career. You think of Brett Favre. You think of Eli Manning. When you win a Super Bowl, I mean, you'll always be in the town of San Francisco, you'll always be celebrated. And with the defense that the 49ers have coming back, with the weapons, maybe Garoppolo can continue to pad some stats, and maybe he'll have some better games and be in MVP competition. That certainly helps. But it's just sad. The reality is, for Garoppolo to really get respect, I think that Jimmy G has to end up winning a Super Bowl championship or maybe going on the road. It has to be in the playoffs for him to gain success, or in the regular season, he just has to put up unbelievable numbers. Instead, him managing and him winning games, which is what a quarterback's supposed to do, is somehow always going to be criticized in the eyes of many people. And I look at a quarterback, and if you can win, you're a damn good quarterback, if you can win consistently. Now, Ryan Tannehill, let's talk about Tannehill now. Tannehill did win, and he won in the playoffs. If Tannehill does this again, if Tannehill takes the Tennessee Titans and even gets into the playoffs with the Titans and even wins a playoff game with the Titans, I will give a lot of respect. I will give much more respect to Ryan Tannehill, regardless of how good the running game is. I think that if you are consistently in the playoffs and consistently and can perform well in the postseason, really take over a game and be fearless at the most times when a lot of people are fearful. You look at Matt Ryan in the playoffs. What happened with Matt Ryan when he got to the playoffs? He did get to the playoffs, but he would shrink. He wouldn't play aggressively. He wouldn't put a fork in teams. And that's where we can maybe see growth from Jimmy Garoppolo in that regard. So when you look at the Super Bowl, and I was thinking about this today randomly, I do believe that the San Francisco 49ers defense is definitely to blame for them losing the Super Bowl. Because the thing is, when you look at your best entity in your life, when you look at the best entity, something that you have, that has to shine the brightest on that stage, in a Super Bowl stage. And the defense of the 49ers did play tremendously well for the first 3 quarters of the game. There is no denying that they played awesome football. They even got turnovers. But then, when they had a double-digit lead, they did give up 2 touchdowns. That did happen. And I guess you can then say, well, it's Mahomes in Kansas City. But if you're going to say then it's Mahomes in Kansas City, then that means that you are not thoroughly better than your opponent in that Super Bowl. That it's evenly matched, it's a coin flip. And if the 49ers this year want to win a Super Bowl, if you want to be the best, you got to find ways to be light years better than your opponents. And the defense is the calling card of the 49ers. okay? It is. And I know I just talked about Garoppolo and things, but the San Francisco 49ers defense is still, it's an unbelievable defense. And you're going, if you ask Shanahan and Saleh, they'd want their defense on the field at those critical moments, at those critical junctures. And against Seattle, they were able to shut down Russell Wilson from the 1-yard line. The defense was able to make plays throughout the season. So the point is, you can't just ignore the fact that Sammy Watkins got a wide open throw down the field. You can't just ignore the fact that Travis Kelce, that you can't just ignore that 3rd and 14 play where Tyreek Hill got behind the secondary. If you are going to be held to a standard of championship, you got to have no weaknesses, or you got to be better than the opponent's strength. And at times when Kansas City needed success, that is when Mahomes' strength was so much better than the 49ers defense. And the 49ers defense had it in them to get a stop and to win that game, to win that Super Bowl. You also talk about coaching, and Kyle Shanahan at the end of the half completely disagree with his philosophy. He showed his hand to the Kansas City Chiefs that he was afraid of Andy Reid and he was afraid of this offense. In a Super Bowl, you look at Doug Peterson and Sean Payton. Doug Peterson, 4th and 1, he goes for it. He goes to knock out Bill Belichick. Sean Payton does an onside kick to open up the second half. Fearlessness is what, honestly, is rewarded so often in these moments, is being confident in your abilities. We do talk about Joe Flacco, but the Joe Flacco 80-yard throw is his best throw of his career on 4th down. Eli Manning the Tyree in the Super Bowl, you might call that just luck or kind of naivety, but that stuff works in moments. Same with Joe Namath. And I'd rather a quarterback go out like Brett Favre to Sidney Rice than a team just not play to win. And even John Lynch wanted to call a timeout in that moment. So San Francisco is so afraid of Mahomes that they're not even willing to risk scoring points themselves before the half. And it's a track meet anyway. You know that the game, that just really irritated me. You have Jimmy Garoppolo. You have your entire offense at your disposal. You have a great rookie, and Deebo Samuel is playing out of his mind. You have George Kittle, the best tight end in the NFL. It's not like the Chiefs have an unbelievable pass defense. You let Garoppolo, you go out there and let him try to win. And then in the fourth quarter, Jimmy Garoppolo in the fourth, he didn't play his best game. He didn't play his best in the fourth. They were throwing the ball a lot in those times. And they got looks to throw it. And then Shanahan decided then he would be Kyle, and then he would be aggressive. But at the end of the first half, he froze up, and that little freeze up, it's also what cost the 49ers the Super Bowl. And it's very frustrating because that might be the best chance that the 49ers have to get to another Super Bowl. I mean, the way that it's going to have to go, now you have 7 teams that are going to be in the playoffs, so it's even going to have more parity. It's even going to be harder for really good football teams because you're going to have to win the 1 seed, or else you're going to have to win 3 playoff games. And some teams are just going to be awful matchups no matter if you're a great team or not. I mean, Russell Wilson is that good of a player that he has the 49ers number. And then you look at, could injuries happen? Absolutely. Injuries can happen. It's going to be a very long season. So in this instance this year, they had a chance up 10 to win the Super Bowl. And the end of the first half was a mind-boggling decision by Kyle Shanahan. It was not him being aggressive enough, and I criticize Shanahan for that. I also criticize the secondary. But people, they will talk about how the Niners defense played great for 3 quarters, but then they'll cherry-pick their argument and say, well, the Niners defense was tired. It got no support from the offense. I think the Niners defense, because if you are going to be a champion, you are going to be graded in the harshest of harsh ways. When you look at a kid who goes to Harvard or Yale, their expectations are going to be the highest of the high. And when you're going to try to win a Super Bowl against a Patrick Mahomes, and I believe the Niners were talented enough to do it, they showed it for 3 quarters, your grading scale you are going to be criticized more when you are in that position to win a Super Bowl, when you are in that position, when you're talked about amongst the elite of the elite. And if the 49ers, say that Mahomes, threw another interception, and the 49ers were able to win the game 27-10, we would look at this 49ers defense as being one of the really great defenses of the last 50 years. And it's still going to be a defense that you look at, and I look at as being unbelievably successful, but that definitely has a mark against it. That fourth quarter, at its most important juncture, Mahomes was there, and the 49ers defense could not do it. And yes, it's a team game, but the bend not break stuff, I just hate that term so much, bend not break, because that means that your defense is sucking for the majority of the drive. And when you let teams get first downs, your offense is off the field. So I really don't like bend not break. I like 3 and outs. 3 and outs, 6 and outs. That's really what shows how good a defense is. When you spot teams first down and you're awful on third down and you keep giving up those first, even though your red zone defense is good, I really don't care. I care how many I care how many first downs are you really giving up. Are your third down percentages good? So bend not break. That is so frustrating when you look at a game and a team could score 13 points, but they can have the ball for 38 minutes because the defense just sucks. And then you're spotting them first downs. Your defense is still ineffective. A great defense gets the football back. So I hate bend not break. Just to go on a little rant about bend not break. But for Garoppolo, it's going to be so hard to shake all this. He's going to have to then, maybe in the regular season, if you're winning, you let him throw a couple touchdowns just for public perception. But I guess, does public perception matter? Maybe. To a guy who does a sports show, I want Garoppolo to be respected. So yeah, but to Jimmy G, maybe it just doesn't matter at all. Maybe it just doesn't matter. So overall, it was a tremendous year. But again, like, how close are you going to come again to winning a Super Bowl championship? And that's the most frustrating thing. But listen, Brandon Ayuk, there's a lot to get excited about. The kid out of South Carolina is a kid that I think could be a really, really awesome football player. I think Javon Kinlaw is going to be a guy that's super, super entertaining to watch. I mean, this guy has tendencies. This guy has explosiveness. He can make splash plays all over the field. So he's going to be very, very fun to watch. I think Quan Alexander's going to come back. So this is going to be, again, very interesting. And the schedule is difficult. So it is going to be, it's really going to be a challenge to try to get that 1 seed. I look at the NFC, who's going to get the 1 seed, and I look at Minnesota as a team actually that's just reloaded on defense, a team with Kirk Cousins, a Gary Kubiak, a lot of professionalism, Dalvin Cook. If they pay Dalvin Cook, he will be in his prime. So I look at Minnesota as a team that is poised to easily win their division in the NFC North. So that's going to be a challenger. The South, you have the Saints and the Bucks. I think that the Saints and Bucks, it's going to be like 11-5 for the Saints, maybe 10-6 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's going to be hard again to win home field. It's going to be very, very difficult. Let's talk about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz in the news a lot. You know, Colin Cowherd doing some good segments on Carson Wentz. And is Carson Wentz a really, really good quarterback? I would say Carson Wentz is a very talented quarterback, and I would say he's a good quarterback. Absolutely. I think that he has mobility. I think his leadership is decent. I don't know if it's the greatest leadership. He's a good leader. But the Alshon Jeffrey stuff, I mean, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady would have squashed that, the elite of the elite leaders. His throwing motion is not the prettiest. I mean, it has a little cork in his arm, which is fine. Is he accurate? Yes. But it's just a lot of repetitiveness. And I think that Carson Wentz is a good quarterback, but I definitely don't think he's an elite level guy. I don't think that he is Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that he's Russell Wilson. I don't think he's going to be Drew Lock. So I don't think that Carson is as talented as those other guys. I even look at Josh Allen. I would take Josh Allen over Carson Wentz because Josh Allen has the mobility. Josh Allen's going to be out there. He's going to be making plays. Now, I know Carson beat Josh Allen last year, but you give Josh Allen, you give him Zach Ertz, and I just think that game would have been a little bit different. But also, Josh Allen's very, very young. So if it's Allen or Wentz, it's very close. But it might be Josh Allen. Now with a Stephon Diggs, I mean, now it's going to be Josh Allen now is going to be such a fun quarterback to watch. But I look at Wentz's middle of the road. And the Philadelphia Eagles in particular, with Doug Peterson, with the drafting of Jalen Hurts, they do have a schedule where they will be 3-0. So maybe they get on this unbelievable run. But I see like a 10-6. I don't see anywhere close to winning the NFC. I just don't this year. The Dallas Cowboys with McCarthy in year one, I don't know if I could see it either with the defense still. I don't know if I could see the Cowboys putting everything together. They just never have done it. So I look at the Minnesota Vikings as that really sneaky team in the NFC. I think the Cowboys could win the NFC East. You then look at the Bucs. No team has ever hosted a Super Bowl in their own city, so I doubt that it's going to happen. New Orleans, is their defense all the way there? Is their team as cohesive? I just don't know. I don't know if New Orleans is going to go through another run, and they've been going through this. You know, they've been busting their ass in the regular season for about 3 or 4 years, and eventually that formula gets extremely, extremely tiresome. So that's something to also keep note of when you look at the NFC. But Carson Wentz, I think he's an all-right quarterback in the NFL. I don't know if I put Carson among the elite of the elites. But yeah, guys, I mean, it was fun. It was good to get back, behind the camera, or on camera, I should say, and just speak my thoughts on the 49ers, speak my thoughts on the season as a whole. I did enjoy it, enjoyed this podcast, enjoyed doing this video. It was a fun time. It really was. It was like an entertaining sort of experience. To be back on air, making content and doing a video. So I'm going to try to continue to do it. Maybe you guys will tune in. If you guys do, if you guys don't, it's fine. I'm just here for fun, doing this for enjoyment when I can. Doing maybe for practice, maybe for enjoyment purposes. And that's what it pretty much comes down to. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. There is golf on, which I really do like as well. There is some horse racing on, which I've been watching as well. And yeah, I'm going to be here from time to time during the summer. There's going to be weeks maybe during the summer we don't produce anything. That's just the reality. There is just nothing on right now. NBA playoffs, I think that'll be fun. I might even have an episode on that, so I'll talk about it. But again, I'm not like a full-time guy. I don't know if I'm even good enough to ever be a full-time guy. But that's just the reality of it. It's very hard. I mean, there's no sports on. Getting guests is the way that you have to survive, unless you're getting paid a salary or unless you're incredibly, incredibly successful or creative. I know some people on YouTube that are still doing their thing. And I respect those guys like no other because I just can't do it. I mean, I just cannot come up with the topics during the summer that are that stimulating time after time. And to pump these out every day, and then dealing with the coronavirus and will sports happen, will things happen, it's just been a rut. And I would be a guy maybe better to do a show with somebody else, if I got paid, go to a city, go on a radio show. So that's kind of what it is. So I'll talk some expectations. I'll talk about what I feel like talking about on here, on the show. And again, thank you guys for watching. All right, take care.